In this lesson, we'll be animating the camera for the pie graph. Okay, so let's just emulate our setup we had the first time around. We'll want to add a camera, just like that, and we'll want to also add a null object for its rig. So we'll grab our camera, drop it under the null, and let's go ahead and look at our camera and its coordinates. We'll want to zero out any rotations that it already has. And then let's look through that camera and just kind of reposition so this is in the middle. Great. And then I want to use the null object to rotate this kind of like that. So we're going to start from the side. And then I'll be kind of zooming in here. And we'll be just starting to look at that 54%, kind of where it comes from in the beginning. And maybe even take the null to have a little bit of kind of a downward look. Okay, so let's go ahead and set some keys. We'll go back to frame 0. Control click to set the keys on the null and on the position of the camera. Okay, so we'll see that kind of coming out here. And by the time most of this text is set up, probably about halfway through, let's go to about frame 60. I'm going to go ahead and zero these back out. And then we'll take our camera and zoom back a little bit. And then let's go back to the null and say maybe now we have a little bit of a different angle from the other side and kind of looking upwards. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and set keys for the rotation. And then for the camera, let's just kind of move this back into the middle again, just like that. And we'll key those positions. So it's going to kind of start out like that. Okay, great. So that's looking really good. Now I think kind of right in between here, we may want to get down a little bit lower first. So I'm going to come in right about here and say I want to be zoomed back a little bit farther and have this kind of moved up a little bit. So I'll set some more keys for the position there. And then I'm going to move that final keyframe all the way to the end, as well as that final null rotation key. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So it's going to bring us back and out a little bit first, and then we'll just continue to be able to kind of take it in. Okay, so that gives us a really good idea of what we need to change in the timing of some of these things. And actually, the only one that I think really needs to change is the one that we haven't even done yet, which is our title of the graph. So probably right about here would be a great time to bring that title on. So what we can do is just come down to our whales, or really any one of those, grab all of its keyframes, right click to copy. Then we'll grab our breakdown of species in the reef, right click and paste. And we'll want to move those back so they happen on that frame 61. Now we'll also want to add a display tag. So I'll just go ahead and grab the one from the whales, control drag that up to the breakdown. And then we'll just grab those keys and pull them right before that first key of the swing. Perfect. Okay, so it looks like all we have left to do to really get this looking great is to add our textures. I don't really think we need to go into our F-curves and even try to change any of the movements because I think they're actually looking really nice on their own. So let's just come back in the next lesson and we'll texture this, and then we'll be able to move on to our final and little bit more difficult graph, which is going to be our bar graph.